All right. Hey, 10 minutes late is better than never, right? Everybody been able to get on to the Zoom recordings on the
Yeah.
announcement file in the Canvas? That's
Yeah.
wanted to?
They're very helpful.
Okay, great, yeah. Yeah, you know, if you
Yeah.
have the time, we're all pretty busy, but if you happen to have the time, and you go over those, you just hear the second, you know, lecture and discussion, and there's probably stuff you could pick up on that. So
It's
yeah,
like it's like having voice notes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one of the nice things about this. Oh yeah, before we get into the thing, I wanted to talk about the summer one class that's coming up. And I guess they're going to continue letting certain career technical education classes have live labs. You know, they're letting the nursing and the construction, and I don't know who else, maybe a few others, CT classes. I mean, CE classes. So what I think I'm going to set it up, I haven't done it, but I've been talking to Mike, and that because it's summer school, it's a 16-week class squeezed into 6 weeks, as you know, if you've gone to summer school. It's going to require 2 nights a week as opposed to 1. And at least on record, they'll be a little longer because we have to make up for that extra few weeks. But, you know, if it's too hard for you guys to stay awake, we'll just make them shorter. But anyway, so one night will be a lecture online like this. And then the next night will be a lab at the school. So that's something you guys could tell me. I haven't set it up yet. You could tell me if you have a problem with being at school at like 6 o'clock for a couple hours on a one night a week.
Sounds good.
If you don't know now, but you find out that there's a problem, or you have certain days that are really bad, let me know, because I haven't even set the days yet. I kind of like Monday and Wednesday, so I was thinking Monday lecture and Wednesday lab. But if someone's got something definite Wednesday that they can't get out of and they really need this class or they want to take it, just let me know, and I'll see if I can fool with the. John, you gonna say something?
What about the people that aren't in town? We're
Well-
gonna do the labs then?
You can record in labs.
Yeah, is there anybody here that lives out of town that's gonna be taking the roof framing class?
I might be.
Me, maybe.
Marcos, yeah.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, I
Maybe-
might.
I maybe also.
Jose Silva, where do you live?
I'm from Lompoc, but I could commute if possible.
You okay? So okay, and who was the other one?
I might.
Yeah, I know Marco. Oh, Michael, where are you living?
I moved back from to Sacramento from Santa Barbara when the pandemic started.
Oh yeah, so you're up in Sacramento now,
Yeah,
and are you thinking about taking that class?
I might be if.
Okay,
If,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, one thing Rodney does, I think Rodney and Jim have already had hybrid classes, and they tape their labs, right?
Yes.
So we might be able, you know, it's an extra thing, but it's not a big deal. I can get some of you guys to actually tape it with me. So that might work. That might be great. So, okay, so let's work on doing that so some of you can take it if you can't make it into town or into the class. It's helpful to do it, right? It's obviously always helpful when you can go in and monkey around with stuff, but if you really want to take the class and there's no other way you can do it, then that's fine. Okay. So I'm going to set up the screen share, and we're going to look at some stuff. We're going to go over some of the papers, okay? No, we don't want to do that yet. Oh, I should go to speaker view. And I need to pin it so we don't keep looking at Brandon's name. Okay. Let's see. Those would be. Okay. Do you guys see this blueprint on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I live in a community, I don't know how important that is, but I live in a development, a planned community. It's like a condominium, except we have yards and condos don't usually have yards. But there's common area that, you know, everybody owns. It's called Winchester Commons. Some of you probably know where that is. But when you change anything on your house, you have to get permission from the community. So we have a board of directors and a landscaping and architecture committee, and we have to submit stuff to them. And then they take it to the board and the board approves it. And then you have to take it to the city and get a permit. So there's extra stuff you have to do here. So the back of my house, that's this right here, used to have this is my dining room, this is my bedroom up here. Used to have just a roof here, and there was a window from the bedroom that looked out this way. And my wife said, you know, it'd really be great if we could have a balcony up here. Can you do that? And I said, well, yeah, sure, I can do it. So I went to the city and I said, well, what do you need? What do I need? The great thing about going to the building departments, and Goleta, I was surprised was fairly painless, but I've been to building departments in the past, including Santa Barbara County and Santa Barbara City, that were not easy to get through. I don't know how they are now. They change over the years, but Goleta was really friendly, and they said, yeah, just bring some, you know, you don't have to have an architect draw them, just bring some drawings about what you're doing. And they have kind of a template that you can copy. So it's really great. So I just made this set of drawings. I included this so they would know what was coming out. And then that's what it's going to look like. That's what it was going to look like without the roof. So I had to put a floor in here because there was just ceiling joists. This is above the dining room. So I had to put a new floor. I had to put a railing. I had to put a light. The light's required now. There's the light over there. Oh, hey, did everybody notice my cursor?
Oh, wow.
You've been
Oh, yeah.
watching it for
Oh,
you've been
right.
watching it for 5 minutes and nobody complimented me. God.
Took it for granted.
Yeah, can't miss that, huh?
Nice work.
Yeah. So yeah, so I had to have a light and I had to have a GFI outlet. I mean, you know, they you know, for safety, they don't want you to get on your balcony and without any light and fall over the thing, and you know. So I had to remember what the height of the balcony was to tell them. And I had to say, oh yes, of course it's going to be less than 4 inches because that's what the requirement is for the railing. Then I had to show them I had a rain gutter and a downspout. And then the top view was, I'm going to put in 2 French doors from the bedroom out. So I had to show those. And then I had to show a section or a detail of how the balcony is going to be sloped and how the railing is going to be connected and all that kind of stuff. Well, I did this before I demoed the kitchen ceiling, right? Dining room and kitchen ceiling. Because if they weren't going to pass it, I didn't want to have my house torn apart. So that's one thing you should always do is think about the logical sequence of things. So don't do anything that you don't need to do until you get approval on a permit. So tonight we're talking about a do-it-yourself project. If you work for a company and you're doing big remodels and new houses, of course they're going to have blueprints that are drawn by architects or designers that have already been passed by the city. So you won't be involved in that permitting process. So this is a smaller scale one but it's parallel. It's what your bosses, if you work for a company, it's what they have to do with their big plans. They submit into the city. And then the city looks at them, and if everything looks good, then they just give you permission to go build. If it's that's probably a rare occasion when that happens because the laws are getting more stricter all the time and it's just hard to keep up and they'll undoubtedly have things to tell you. So they thought this was all okay. I have joists that are connected to a beam, you know, and I had some foundation for the railing. And then I had a special coat, what's that called? Tough coat or a bituminous deck cover. And then somewhere I talk about this, the particular decking system I'm going to have. So they were fine with these. Then I went home and I started demoing the ceilings because that's how you get. I demoed this roof and then there were just joists. And then I had to demo the whole area where the joists are. And when I demoed that, I got in the kitchen, I looked up and the joists were eye joists. And you can't see where these are sloping here. I didn't know they were eye joists. So I thought if they're 2x10, I can just cut them from full size on the door in, cut them a couple inches or whatever, a 1/4 inch per foot ends up. And I can just leave the ones that are already there and maybe double them up if they're not 16. They were 16 on center, but they were eye joists and you can't cut into an eye joist like that, right?
Oh, man.
Because that top part that holds the webbing, you can't mess with that. It's like a 1x2 and you can't, 2 inches would practically get rid of it toward the end here. They said,
Yeah.
uh-oh, you gotta redo this. And I went, oh no. And I said, what do I gotta do? They said, well, first you gotta go to a structural engineer. Well, there went my simple project, right?
More money.
More money. I just thought, and I turned to my wife and I said, you know, we've only got a little bit of the sheetrock off. Maybe we should just call it a day. And she said, no, let's do it. So I went to the city and so let me show you what the, so I also had to do, I'll show you what the structural engineer gave me. So this is a picture of the lot. I'm on the board of directors, so I have access to all the blueprints in our community. And they have, you know, the most they have is site plans. They have a blueprint, a floor plan, but my particular unit was lost over the years and I couldn't find one. So I had to but all I needed was a plot plan. They don't care what the interior is like. They just want to know, basically they want to know if you're adding a room, this is a balcony, so it doesn't really add footage. But if you're adding a space, they want to make sure there's the ratio of built area to unbuilt area, yard area is a certain amount, not above a certain amount. So they ask you for all these things. So like down here, building analysis and density, the habitable square footage, 1450, that's what the house is. I wasn't adding any, but I still had to talk about this. You have to tell what the garage is. You have to tell what the height of the building is. You have to tell what kind of construction. They want to know if it's stick frame or whatever. So it's you know, studs and plate frame with stucco siding, stucco and siding. It's got both. And Mexican tile on the top. No sprinkler. They want to know if there's sprinklers in it. And I said, no, there's no sprinklers. The occupant load, how many people live there? My kids are gone, so it's just my wife and I. The whole area of the lot, they want to know. And then they want to know percentage of building coverage, 40%. Donna may know the proportion. I don't know it offhand, but 40% was okay. I mean, that's what I didn't add, so it had to be okay because it was what the original proportion was. So this is, if you don't have a plan, you know, you buy a house, an old house, or, you know, or you're renting one, or you're living with someone and they don't have a plan, you're going to have to measure and draw this. That's the pain in the ass. So it's really nice to have any kind of floor plans. And like I said, the city usually has plans for everywhere in their archives, and you can go and get those. So I don't know what they cost. I've actually done it before, but I can't remember if I paid them. They probably have a fee for, you know, finding them. But almost every, especially in a development that's highly, they really hawk developments because they, you know, they don't want, if a builder could build one house in a crappy way, but if he builds, you know, 50 houses, that's really bad. So you have to have a location map. Remember on the site plan, we had a location map so that the inspector knows how to get there. So this has the freeway and this tells how to get to my house. And then general notes tells what I'm building, a balcony with French doors. The balcony consists of 5/8 ply with Tuflex, pedestrian traffic deck system over it. And then I tell them what the system consists of. Then a wrought iron railing to match the existing railings. In a development, everything has to match, so you have to kind of see. I had a friend who built wrought iron railings, so it was really great. I just told him what I needed and got a pretty good deal because I didn't have to go to a big company. And then you have to say you're going to complete a downspout and a rain gutter. Okay, so that's all these 2 sheets were all I turned into the city. And then after they told me that I would need a structural engineer, then things got more complicated. Okay, let me share those with you. Okay, can you all see that screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm learning things about this computer.
We can't
With
see that
this-
one though.
Yeah, I know. With this particular
Is it like just loading up? Or
no, I got to get rid of this thing. I don't know what this thing is here. That's so weird. There it is. I get that. So if you go to this other place and then go to adjustments, then you can enlarge it, and it won't. You can enlarge it and go up or down. On the other print, it wouldn't let you do that. So you have to go to a kind of a edit type print.
It's still blocked out, Patrick, because you're sharing file viewer, not the viewer of the PDF or whatever this is. It's gray for us.
It's gray.
Yeah, because you're in application sharing. You're sharing file viewer.
Well, what does it look? It's gray and not yellow.
Yeah, it's grayed out. It's like a privacy filter over the top.
Yeah, but can you read? Oh,
No, it's 100% blocked out.
I got you. It says, please move this window away from the shared application. So what does that mean?
You're sharing file viewer and you opened up whatever program is. It's still we're still just seeing the file viewer with this kind of over the top of it.
Okay, so let's get creative here. What if I take this individually out of the file? Sure, right? Let's try it. Oh man, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Can you do a full screen share instead of an application share?
Well, how do I do a full screen share? So I've got these on my desktop.
Or can you switch the application that's being shared to the one that you're viewing the files with?
I don't know.
Maybe like a quick view or like a preview in the if you right click the file, maybe it says like quick view or preview.
Edit, print, share with Skype, cast to device. No.
If you just go back to screen share, there should be a few options there on like which screen you're sharing, whether or not it's your whole screen or a specific, thing you have open. And so if you just make sure it's sharing the right one, then it should pull up what you want. I think it's like John was saying, that you were only sharing one thing instead of your whole screen.
Oh, there. And I can't get that on my. So it has a portion of screen. That's weird. I can't get rid of that. Okay, so walk me through it again. I'm not having any luck. So I've got these 5, 6 documents on my desktop.
So if you go ahead and open one of those documents and then
Yeah,
go back to do.
That's what
Go to
I
screen
did.
share.
That's what I did. But then when I go back to sharing,
I would just try it one more time.
oh yeah, okay, that came back. Okay,
There it is.
John, can you?
There it
There
is.
it
Okay,
is.
okay.
All
I don't know what
right.
happened, but yeah. Okay. Now we should be able just to enlarge this right here. Now see how you enlarge it and then I can't. Oh yeah, I can. Okay.
That's real clear too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that readable?
Yep. Very
Now,
clear.
I can also make this a full screen and go even more. How's that right there? Is that readable?
It's legible. Yeah.
A little bit further in, it doesn't make a difference for us either way.
Yeah, Hugo says, yep. Can read it.
There you go.
Okay. So I want to get to the top because it's got City of Goleta, Building Department, Inspection Line. So the Building Department rarely answers their phone and the inspection line rarely answers their phone. If you leave a message with the inspection line, that's calling for inspection. So they take that seriously. So they will call you back. They do have a web, an email access that they answer sometimes. So this is the form. They give you an expiration date. It has to be a certain time after you start. It has inspection hours. They're only going to come Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. And then this has a list of all the different inspections that have to be done for this particular project. So let's go through those. So since it's a second floor thing, we don't need anything to do with the ground. So no soils tests or slabs or anything. This is kind of a, I guess they always cross this out because if you're a second floor framing, you're always going to cross out the raised. This is all kind of the first floor foundation stuff. So they cross that out. Floor framing. So the framing and and I'll show you what I had to do with the framing. So they had to inspect it because it had to be designed by a structural engineer, excuse me. And then they had the sheeting had to be inspected over it. And then the frame inspection, I had a doorway I put in, a French door, so they had to inspect that. And then they have to inspect exterior lath. Some of you may work in the lath field. So they have to before it's plastered or stuccoed, they have to look and make sure the lath's put on correctly. And in fact, in my job, the lath guys forgot a strip along there, and the inspector caught it and said, hey, you're missing a strip, you got to have that. So I had to call these guys back. But the whole idea is to get everything approved in a tight order so you don't have to stall your subcontractors or your own work. That can be very difficult. This particular inspector, Stephanie was her name. She's no longer an inspector. She's gone up the administration chain. But she was great because she allowed me to take pictures of stuff. If it was going to hold up the process of building to get her out, because she was pretty busy, she said, just take some cell phone pictures and show them to me next time I come, which was really great. I don't know how many inspectors allow that. I think, there's a whole, and Donna knows this if she's here, there's a whole rapport that you have to establish with the building department. And as if you're an experienced builder or an old builder, you're going to know probably more than the inspectors and maybe even the building department, the head guy. But he's going to know more what the current code is. And he also has power over you. So you don't want to get into a fight with him. You don't want to get into an ego battle. If you think he's saying something wrong that's going to cost you money and you're really sure he's wrong, find a tactful way to have a discussion with him about it and make him, and tactfully ask him where in the rule book and the code books it says these things, and he'll be glad to show you. And you can, he or she may realize they were wrong too. In the best of worlds, that will happen. So then, let's see. Okay, that was all for the building framing part. Then there's a mechanical. I didn't have any HVAC equipment, so that is irrelevant. But I did remember I had to put in a light and an outlet, so they had to do a rough wiring. So before you cover the wall up with sheetrock or stucco, you have to have the rough wiring done so the inspector can see it. And if it's going to be covered up, you either have to take pictures. So when I was doing my electrical, I did some of it and I had an electrician do some of it. The inspector said the holes in the floor plate that the wires went through, she said I had to insulate those. I had to put some kind of foam around them. So I went, got some foam and sprayed those. There were little things that I had forgotten about. And then there's a final. All it was the rough wiring and the final. The final, she would notice if the outlet was done right and the light was done and all that. So that was all for the inspection. But let's go to the where is this thing? Yeah, there we go. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is this was done by Kevin Vandervoort. He's a structural engineer in Goleta over by Costco, or rather, what's the new where Kmart used to be?
Target.
Target, right across from Target. And he's really great. He's a really great guy. If you need a structural engineer, I recommend him highly. But anyway, he has to put all this engineering stuff down, the loads and stuff, which for most contractors or carpenters doesn't mean much. Then he does a drawing, just like from my drawing. I left all my drawings. He copies the drawing and he puts, he puts all his engineering specifications for the loads. And that has to be approved by the building department. So I turned this, he did it, I turned it into the building department. Now, I had these eye joists, right? And I had to put the eye joist only went to the outside wall, and I wanted to cantilever my deck. So
Can you zoom in a little bit, Patrick?
yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's the same as we were looking at. So there were eye joists that were in the building, right? That were there already. And they went out to the outside wall, which is right here. And then there's an overhang. So I said, well, I'll just double up these. I'll put, he wanted some LVLs right down here, 1 3/4 by 11.78 LVLs. So that's like a 2 by 12 equivalent and a laminated. Remember, we looked at those last week. He wanted one of those sistered next to the I-beam. And then I had to put 1 by 12. I mean, I could use ply or anything, but 1 by 12 was easy because it was the exact size between the outside edge pieces of the eye joist. And then that would make them flat on one side. And then I would put this LVL next to it and hammer the crap out of it. And there's a place where he's got all the nails because, you have to, it has to act as one piece. So the LVLs went all the way out and I put my trim on it and then I put a soffit underneath it. But the eye joist only went to the wall in the first place. So that's how I solved that problem. But I had to go way back into the house to where the eye joist started to nail the sister of the LVL. So I had to take all the ceiling down. I had to take the whole dining room ceiling down, which is really a bummer. So it was a lot more work. Let's go to the last one here. So can you see this okay?
Yes, clear.
Yeah. So it's pretty messy, but so 16 penny, see up here, upper left-hand corner, just follow the purple. Follow the nice big purple cursor to here, 2 16 penny nails at 12 inches on center. So every foot I had to nail these 2 beams together, the LVL and the eye joist. And then here there was a header. There was a header. No, it just took blocking. I don't know what that was. Ply filler at each TGI web. So I put 1 by 12, same thing in there. And then he told me how to block. And then on this wall, I see that little A35. Somebody was asking me last week about A35. So you need that to hold the blocking in. And what else does he say? Yeah, then there's another A35 to each LVL against the beam. So not only was the LVL nailed to this eye joist, but I also had to hang it to the beam because one side was only open because it was sistered to the other beam. I had to use 1 A35 to the beam here. So, that's what'll make it earthquake proof. But see, I'm walking on this. I was always walking over the bed where the bedroom is, right? That's above the dining room, and that was always just normal floor joist. But because now I have this porch area that's over the end part of the dining room, he wanted to make sure this was strong enough, wasn't going to cave in. So that's what they do. And I was glad, it was a hell of a lot more work and more expensive, but it was conceptually pretty simple. So the beams were heavy. Can you imagine? They were like 12-foot LVLs, 2 by 12s. So I got my the better half, my better half, my wife, to help me put those in. So, let's see, what are these other things here? Oh, yeah. Oh, here's something important. Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you about. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. I like the idea there, saving some labor by putting the wife to work. That's good.
Hey, you may draw fire
That's
from
tip
it.
of the class so far. No, I was kidding.
She wanted
Oh,
the
she's-
balcony, right?
Yeah, I know she did. She's a trooper too. She got right out there and did it.
That's right.
That's a lot of fun when you work at home. That's what, one of the reasons I'm showing you this is because to take the mystery out of this, you know, the city does a lot of the work. If you have to get, a lot of stuff has to be engineered now because the city doesn't have the time or the competence to approve, you know, certain dimensions of plans, you know, they just do. And an engineer has that competence. So they just say, you know, if there's any question at all, they don't want to get sued for, you know, approving a structure lacking quality or strength. So that's cool. And some structural engineers charge a lot of money. I looked around and I asked Rodney who he used, and somebody recommended this guy, and he's just was a hero. He's inexpensive. He's smart as a whip. Anyway, so the city also requires you to implement what do you call it? Waste reduction. So you have to sign this thing that say you're going to recycle project type, project involves new construction, project involves demolition, property owners doing the work. This is to certify a C&D recycling program for the above reference address will be implemented to divert a minimum of 65% and a summary report detailing how the diversion was met. So this is great, you know, I mean, it's a lot of work, but this is how we keep the landfill open and stop wasting stuff. So now 65% of your waste, your demolition has to be recycled or reused. So, and most people just get a Marburg truck out there and throw it in there and then let Marburg take care of it. And they sign off whatever was in the recycle bin, that's the amount they'll sign off. And that's not real accurate. And it's, you know, it's a little corrupt, but it's what we got right now. So then you have to do a post-construction waste reduction and recycling summary report. Let me make this bigger for you. So material handling methods indicate quantities and tons only for each material. So I had stucco that I demoed around the door. You know, under the door was, under the window was stucco because I was putting a door in. And I had to figure out how much stucco I had in. There was a formula, I don't know where I got it, that converts the square footage of stucco into weight. And so I ended up with 0.3 tons because it was just a little bit of stucco, but they want to know. I disposed of all of it to the Tahiguas landfill because there's nothing I could do with that. I had roof tile. I kept that. It's in my backyard. I might take it to school if we ever have projects where we can work on the tile. There's not a lot, but I didn't put it in the waste stream and I could write it off. Then building materials, you know, the wood that I ripped out, the window that I ripped out. I recycled, I took the window to City College because we can use it, you know, in our flashing and window installation parts of our lessons. Drywall, same thing, I probably was too much to take to the guys who collect it, like Lash and those guys, so I just dumped it. Unpainted wooden pallets was that. So then I had a total. I had totals here, and then what they do is they determine, this is the formula they use. They take this number and this number, which was 0. So 0.16 tons. 0.24A. And that equaled uh, 2/3 or 67%. So I was right on the money there. And then they asked, is this percentage listed in 7 greater or equal to 65%? And it's greater. So I put yes, and that was it. She signed me off. So that's what you have to do to your materials. Takes a
When,
little
like,
bit of,
when do they start requiring that? Like, when is this a requirement? Like,
well, it's been about a few years, not long.
no, but I mean, as far as like when, like, so any project you're gonna do, I mean, yours wasn't a huge project, but any project is gonna
Any
require.
project you get a building permit for.
Okay, so the,
If it's too small for a building permit, or you do it on the sly, then you don't have to do anything. If you
Yeah.
get caught, they'll make you do it all. But a lot of people don't even know if they have a small project, if it needs to be. So our
you had to get
association,
permit.
our association wants to do a children's playground. And I told the people on the playground committee that rather than buy a $50,000, plastic children's playground, I said, let's make one. I've made a bunch of them in my life. And I said, we've got contractors for homeowners here, and a lot of people that would give labor. So I called the city. I said, do we have to get that approved? And of course he said, yeah, once you call him, and
Yeah,
you're stuck.
yeah.
I should have called anonymously, but I didn't. He
Yeah.
said,
They got
yeah.
it.
He said, yeah, you need a permit, but he said, you guys can build it. You don't need a contractor. You can ask, the whole association can act as a homeowner. So I found out that was good.
So,
But
but you
a
still
lot-
So that doesn't have to, that doesn't have to meet the requirements as far as like the fall safety and all that. Cause
Yeah, if I make
that's what I do at work.
Yeah. Okay. So if a commercial playground company comes in and does it, they have to get a permit too, but the building department will trust them because they've been doing this, and all their stuff gets certified along the way. But if we build it, I'll probably have to take it to a structural engineer and have him confirm the design.
Well, I mean, they have like the
The what?
I think you froze.
Oh,
It
okay.
froze up. Can
Yeah.
you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh
you
yeah,
now.
'cause it's gonna be open to the public, right?
Just to the people in our association. And I guess that's considered public, but no, in a way it might be private. I'm not sure how they're going to label it. But we do have to get it. We probably will have to get it inspected. And
Sorry, it froze on me for a while. Sorry, Patrick.
so you said, is this Marcos?
Yeah, because that's I work for the schools, and so if it's open to the public, you open yourself up to the liability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's I'm buying one of those drop testing. They're expensive. They're like $3,500 just to buy the ball to test.
Yeah.
And then there's also the spacing so that a kid's head can't get in and their neck caught in
Right.
between. So there's
Right.
I can share some of the literature because I have a bunch of literature. I could probably send it to you just on the side on an email.
Oh, great. Sure. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
'cause that's what I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Part of
Yeah,
what I
oh,
do,
great.
and they're expensive. We just spent $100,000 on one playground.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I know. This is just an association. It's not that big.
Yeah.
But
And one thing we're trying out artificial turf as a playground surface. Of course, you got
that's
like
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the rubber underneath.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to have to do something. So yeah, we should talk because I mean, we sort of put it on hold until the pandemic's over because we can't get together and work. But I'm going to really try to get us to build it. And I've been thinking about what we could put for a ground cover. I mean, you can put chips and
I mean,
there's
you
a
could
lot of
always
different-
do as long as it's playground certified wood chips. You could do wood
Yeah.
chips too.
Yeah. So we'll have to all vote on it, of course. But
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick, but you'll still
Yeah.
have to submit plans, right? Like you're gonna have to. Like,
Yeah.
just like the balcony, you'll have to submit plans.
For the balcony, were you
No,
saying?
I mean like.
Oh, like the balcony.
Yes, like you're gonna
Yeah,
have to submit a
yeah.
detailed plan.
And, you know, and I want to, I mean, I could probably fake it and do it without the city. But,
Uh-huh.
you know, the liability, like we have liability for people in the association. We'll probably, I don't know if that'll require putting some kind of fence around it, you know, with a gate that only we can use or what. But, you know, I want it to be structurally sound and safe. So, you know, the best way to do it is just to go the conventional route and have the city and structural engineers and anybody who's involved in that kind of safety weigh in on it, you know?
Right.
Because you don't, you know, not only do you not want to get sued for everything you have, but
You don't
the
wanna get hurt.
association, but you don't want kids to get hurt either. You know, that's
Yeah.
the important thing.
Yep.
Although
Yeah,
some
that's
of the playgrounds back in the day we used to play on were pretty crazy.
I built
Death
some pretty
traps,
crazy
man.
ones. You know, I've always built out of wood because I'm a carpenter and I like the looks of wood playgrounds. I've done 3 or 4 of them.
Oh, they're
But,
awesome, and they made us stronger, right?
Well, yeah, and they just look nicer. They blend in better. And then when I came to Santa Barbara and I saw the one at you know, downtown, what's that one at Kids
Mission
World or
Plan.
whatever?
Yeah.
What's that park? Alameda Park?
It's right
Yeah,
there.
and I thought, and that was out of wood, and I thought, yeah, all right, you know. I was surprised that a city would do something out of wood like that.
Well, maybe it was older. Maybe it was an older, like kind of grandfathered in kind of deal.
Yeah, I know. Things have really changed since that thing was put in, I'll tell you. But oh, you can do it, you know. I was riding my bike and I was starting to build it in my mind, you know. I was thinking, well, 4x4, 6x6 are really good for the, you know, the post, but you're gonna have to really crimp those corners, you know. Kids can get really cut on those things because they fall against everything, right? So you have to plane those way down to do that.
Oh yeah, sorry if I seem rude if I don't answer if you call me. I keep on freezing up my internet, just so you know.
Yeah. You know, at school, if some of you have seen that Japanese pergola that's by the vending machines at Wake Center,
Mhm.
that has round posts because that's what the design called for. But well, it was my design, but I copied, you know, real places. And the round posts are expensive. So we got 6x6s and we milled them down to round posts. And,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
I know we have a Bigfoot, you know, saw that cuts like, I don't know how many inches, but it's bigger than a skill saw. And you can take off a good corner and then you just take electric plane and, you know, plane the further corners and you can get it. It's not as hard as it sounds.
Or
But
if you-
square ones are nice in a
you know,
playground
like a-
because, you know, you can put joists and floor systems against it, right? Just like in a house, everything's squared off. So we'll probably do squared if we do it with just rounding the corners so they're safe. But
If you do a 1/2 inch round over, that should be good enough not to impale some
Yeah.
kid's head.
yeah, exactly. Because, you know, that should be plenty. But I think it'd be fun to do, get everybody involved. I think that's what we should do with a lot of stuff because, you know, we don't have a lot of money anymore. Things like global warming and worldwide pandemics are wasting our money. So we're gonna have to do everything we can locally and nearby as much as we can. Okay, so let me see what the last one of those. Let's see, 5 and 6 was for. And that was the worksheet. And 2 was. Oh, yeah. Okay. You can't see that, can you?
No.
Not yet.
All right, all right. So, so after I did all that, they signed me off for the post-construction waste reduction and recycle summary report. I had 2 permits because I had an electrical permit. I had to draw for the light. So you can contract, if you own a house, you can be the owner contractor. You don't have to hire anyone. And you can actually, even if you don't know anything about carpentry, you can still be contractor and hire carpenters as the contractor to do a lot of the work, but you're still listed as owner contractor. So that's one of the few benefits of owning a house. So I said roof tile was stored and saved, lumber reused, taken to Santa Barbara construction program. 1 window taken there, small amount of stuck on drywall, put in trash. So Kimberly
They're just taking your
Nilsson's,
word for it though, right? I mean, like,
yeah, they are. That's right. They have one
Sorry,
person this.
can you say that one more time? The interpreter couldn't hear you. The
Oh.
student.
Oh, that they're just taking his word for it. They're not checking.
Yes. Now, I don't know if Don is here yet or tonight, but this was such a small project. They probably weren't going to hassle me even anyway, right? I mean,
Right.
look at the amounts we're talking about.
Yeah. But on a bigger projects,
But
like,
on a bigger project, they may send people out to check especially if they're using Marburg dumpsters, you know?
wow, I've never seen that. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, inspectors out there doing inspections, they may,
Oh,
they
just
may, but you know, when times get busy, like there's
things
so
slip
much
through the
building
cracks.
going on in, in this area that they're under inspected.
Yeah, I
And,
get it.
yeah, some things just go by the wayside, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I notice how much stuff goes to the waste. That just kind of, it's something that I've thought about too. Like, wow, I know it's a lot of waste that we produce, in our field.
Yeah. The better way to do that the better way to deal with waste, I think, is to get industry to make products that can be reused simply without having to have a lot of refurbishing. Because people don't have the energy, and some products need a lot of refurbishing to be used again. And people don't have the energy or money. They just say, well, I'm not going to do that. So if industry starts eventually making products that are modularized and can be reused, and the configuration becomes a design rather than the material, then we can solve this problem. We can reuse things a lot easier. So, but, so in the green building class and the building performance, we go into this a lot more, and it's changing really fast. So if anybody takes it, John and maybe some of you took it last spring, but even in this year or so, there's going to be a lot of changes. There's a guy, Dennis, I've told you about Dennis Allen writing for the Independent. I don't know if any of you guys read that. Is the Independent online by any chance? Probably, huh?
Yeah, they have a website.
Yeah. So you should, because they're free, but you got to be somewhere during the pandemic. They're not always easy to get. They're always at the Wake Center. So if you have classes there, you can always pick one up on Thursday. But he does a column in the real estate section in the back. And he was talking about, he's talking about the future stuff. He's talking about batteries, how cities are now making battery buildings with batteries for city storage. So it's no longer an individual thing. So someone buys a Tesla battery pack and puts it under their solar system, but cities are now doing it because storage, is a requirement for renewables, because they only renew when it's light or when the wind's blowing. So we're gonna have to store it some way. We've been storing on the grid, but the grid's only there because they burn fossil fuel 24/7. So it's always there, but we're trying to get off of fossil fuel. So at some point, we're not going to have a grid from those things. We can't afford, the Texans, that brought it out when the Texans complained about renewable energy. They're oblivious to global warming. They just don't even consider it. And they just got whipped by one of the first big effects of global warming, but they're just living in fantasy, but the getting rid of fossil fuels is just, we have to do it. There's no two ways about it. I mean, we're not going to stop the getting whipped by global warming, but we're going to make it a lot less than if we did nothing. So, you know, I hate people that say, oh, it doesn't work at these times or this way, so let's not do it. You know, we never got anywhere as a country, as a world, by giving in that easy. So the really great people are people who say, okay, we got a great challenge here. What do we do with wind and solar to have this, to have the power when it's not blowing and shining? So we've had a ton of people meeting that challenge in the last 10 years. It's, if you ever can find the stuff, it's really cool because it's very ingenious what people come up with. You know, they have a lake. If you go up to the Ridge Route, the old, I think it's 5 that goes over the hill in the Central Valley from LA. They got Pyramid Lake. They got a couple of big lakes there, and they pump water to the upper lake when it's cheap to pump, when electricity is cheap. And then they let the water go down and run and create power when they need power. So, I mean, there's a million ways you can store power, and we're tapping them. And then we have continual power coming up. And, you know, people have said, well, you know, we can't burn fossil fuels. True, but we can burn other things. Like they're using, what is it? What do they call the algae, right? They're making algae produce energy. They're not burning the algae. I don't know how it works, but they're making chemical reactions using algae. And you can do that 24/7. So that's a full-time backup thing. And you've got tidal energy right out in the Pacific. That never stops. You think the Pacific Ocean stops tiding? I don't think so. So that will someday go online. So we're developing all these other ones that are more always going. They'll solve the problem. You know, batteries are getting better. They'll solve it, but we have to do that. It's not like a choice. So people should just, you know, gear their mind toward figuring out the best way to do these things. So anyway, that's all we have time to talk about in this class. What we got, 7 o'clock? Oh, one other thing. Oh, I forgot. It was along with what Dennis Allen was saying. Oh, yeah. You know who Bill Gates is, everybody? You should know.
Yep.
He's the guy who developed Windows and what was his company's name? Microsoft. Yeah. So he and Apple were the big developers of the PCs and that phase in the computer history. And he was the world's richest man for a while. But he gave away a lot of his money. He's joined with that other guy. What's his name? Hathaway's. He's got a lot of money. But this club of billionaires have started this club of giving away their money. You know, it's really cool. They've been giving away. So Gates is no longer that wealthy. I mean, he's wealthy as hell, but he's not like
top 5 anymore.
Yeah, he's not like Bezos and those other guys. But so he's turned an about face. I mean, he was a real cutthroat, kind of competitive, not always ethical guy when he was trying to get his computer company to be the top. And since he's retired from that and realized that he wants to give back, he's become quite a humanitarian and what do you call people that give away their money?
Philanthropist.
Yeah, philanthropist. Thanks. And he's really invested in pandemic. Like he had suggestions that would have cured our whole approach to this, but nobody took him seriously. 10 years ago, he was working on Ebola and some other ones, and he came up with a lot of ways we could get ready for this one, which everyone ignored. He feels bad. I just read an article. He feels bad because people ignored him. That's no reason to feel bad. You know, he thinks he could have done more. He probably did everything he could, but the time wasn't here. But now there really isn't. But he's an interesting guy, and he just came out with a book, and they don't show the contents on Amazon, unfortunately. Sometimes they'll let you look into the book about how to stop global warming. So he's spread out to that. And he'll probably have some really interesting ideas in terms of electrical storage, because that's right up his alley. You know, that's why Elon Musk is, all those guys who do electronic cars or, you know, computers are really good at storage issues. So I'm looking forward to getting that. If I get it before this class is over, I'll share it with you. Okay. So let's just do a little bit of stuff, okay? So you get your pencil. So you need a pencil, and I mean, you could use a pen, and you need a piece of blank paper, and you need something to write on, something hard surface to write on, and a ruler. You don't need a architect scale, but you can use the ruler on the scale if you want. And we're just gonna fool around a little bit. We'll probably do a little tonight and do several other segments. You know, when I have the class in person, I have enough drafting boards and T-squares and triangles for everybody in the class. So, you know, you sit at those tables at the Wake Center, and I have paper for you, and we copy other blueprints just so you get an idea of what hand drafting is like. Some of you may already hand draft, so that's great. But if you're going into the trades of any kind, including masonry like Hugo's in, drawing's knowing how to draw and present information, you know, with your hands is really good. So we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. So take question.
Who just said yeah, and she thinks.
Okay. So I've got a ruler here. Doesn't matter. So on your paper, I'm going to do it on this board. Just draw a line, you know, a little bit up from the bottom of the paper, across the paper like this. This is a straight line. Yeah. Try to make it, whenever you're drawing, try to make it parallel to the bottom of the page if you can. It's not critical.
Do you want it all the way across the paper?
No.
No.
Well, yeah, you can do it all the way across. Then you won't have to think about it. And then mark about a thing about an inch in from the left-hand margin on the line. That's your page. Make a little point there. Yeah. Then go across, if you have, like, say, 6 inches from that point, and make another mark. Yours will be more, I don't have, mine's bigger than an 8x11 sheet, so, but just go 6 inches over and make a
So
second
1
mark.
So
Yeah,
1 inch, then 6 inches.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be 1 inch, just, you know, just make it a little bit away from the edge of the paper.
Okay.
And then you're going to go 8 inches up from that line, from that point. So you're going to put either 1 or 8, and you're going to make a mark, and then you're going to tilt this a little bit toward the center, make another mark. Tilt it a little bit more toward the center. What am I doing?
You get a radius of some kind?
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing as we did with a tape measure. I'm making a little arc here.
Yep.
Then you just connect those dots. You know,
What is that?
you could hold it at 8. You could hold it at 8 if you could fasten it and go across and just make the arc.
Are we going 8 from that
From
line that you
from that
marked?
point, that first left-hand point,
Okay.
I'm going 8 inches up. Now, what am I doing? Anybody guess so far?
Mm-mm. Shit, I don't have 8 inches.
I'm trying to make a right angle with this line and the line going up. So I'm using that same 3, 4, 5 triangle method we did before.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
So if 6 is the bottom, what have I done to the 3, 4, 5 sides?
Doubled it.
I've doubled it. So it'd be 6, 8, 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with 6 across, we did 8 this way. Now we don't have to arc the 10 one. We just have to put the 10 on the second line. And wherever that, the start of your ruler, the 0 point, wherever that hits, that arc, that's the point where you're
Oh, gotcha.
so this is 8, and this, you just put your ruler on that. That's going to be for the 10 mark. You put on the 0 or the 10, whichever way your ruler goes here. And then you go up wherever it hits the arc. Right? Now I had you do 2 arcs when I did it with a thing. Partly because, well, you didn't really need to. It's the same thing as where the arcs meet. If you just go 10 inches from the point to where the top of your ruler hits the arc, that's what you want. Everybody got that?
Wait, so do you want us to draw out that triangle?
No.
No.
You can if you already have, but that's why it's good to draw with pencil, because if you already did it, you can erase it. What we're going to do is we're making graph paper. Now, some of you may have brought graph paper because I said if you had it to bring it, but I didn't want you to go out and buy a, pack of graph paper just for this. But I also want you to know how you can make something to draw with just a blank piece of paper. So now what I want you to do is, from this point, I want you to mark off every 1/4 of an inch across your page, the whole way. So take your ruler or your scale and just mark every 1/4 of an inch all the way across. And then go up toward the top of your page. You can extend this line toward the top of the page. So go like, whatever, if you got an 8 by 11 sheet, maybe 10 inches go. And then do every 1/4 inch all the way up to the top of 10. And you're going to measure, what I say, 8 inches this way. And you're going to go up 10 from here. And you go up 8 across here. And then you're going to do 1/4 inch across there and 1/4 inch starting at the bottom across here. And if you connect all the lines, you'll have a 1/4 inch, you'll have a sheet of 1/4 inch graph paper. Has anybody worked with graph paper before?
Ooh, long time.
Like long time ago.
So the nice thing about it is it creates a grid and right angles, so you don't have to do this. But this is just so if all you have is a ruler and a white piece of paper, you can make it. You'd be surprised where that might come in handy. But you can either use that tonight or you can use graph paper if you have it. But, so I have a, is everybody, can I erase this?
No, what was the
No,
what's
no,
the
no.
slide? With a half inch or with a quarter inch?
Quarter inch.
Okay.
Now, if, the reason I asked about if you'd worked with graph paper, you know that there's several sizes of squares in graph paper, right? One common size is quarter inch, so the squares are quarter inch like this. Some are, what's the next one? 5/16 or, I think it's 5/16 or 3/8. Anybody know?
I don't know.
Okay. But when you buy it, there's usually a couple sizes. So the quarter inch is the most convenient. And why is that?
Quarter inch scale.
Yes, quarter inch scale. Most of your drawings on blueprints are quarter inch to a foot. So if you already have that mapped off, then you can just count squares and each one's a foot. So Rodney does cabinet elevations because he's a cabinet maker. And so he doesn't do, you know, I mean, he's probably done blueprints for houses and stuff in his past, but the last part of his career he was a cabinet maker. And he always has a little pad with him and it's always got graph paper on it. And he uses that to draw out the face, the way cabinets look. So, I mean, he carries that around with him like, you know, like the nuclear weapons code that the president carries around with him. Hey, you translators, how do you translate nuclear weapons codes that the president carries around with them?
There's signs for everything.
You know, when they showed the you know, we've been barraged with pictures of the insurrection at the Capitol, right? And the last set a few days ago was they showed Mike Pence being hustled out of his office. And they showed the guy that's carrying the codes, the nuclear codes, following him down the steps. And you could see the guy carrying the briefcase. It's the first time I've ever seen the actual briefcase. And they were saying, whoa. And then they had to calm the public down and said, no, those aren't activated. You know, they're at periods they deactivate them so they won't get in trouble. At least that's what they're telling us, right?
Yeah, right.
We don't know for sure, but you know, and the funny thing, the guy had a uniform on and he had like yellow, you know, yellow cord, you know, that kind of decoration uniforms had. So he stood out. Nobody else had that kind of uniform. I'm going, why do you want the guy that's carrying the nuclear codes to stand out with a ridiculous uniform? That's anyway. I don't know why they call it the football. It's a briefcase, you know. Football, so you could launch it, right? Hey, Joe, take it quick. We'll be lucky if we don't blow ourselves up in the next 50 years. I'll tell you that. But we won't go into that. So now I want you to draw a roof plan. So the roof plan will have can I erase this? Is everybody done?
Yes.
So you can use your own graph paper or what you just made, either one. And what I want you to put on it is, I drew this out when I was waiting for you guys tonight. Let's see what I've come up with. Oh yeah. So if this is a standard set of plans, which means they use conventional symbols and lines.
Sorry, Professor, this is Hugo. I can't see the numbers, unfortunately.
Oh,
it's too
okay.
small.
It's 12 feet across and 16 feet up. Okay. So we talked about this in the thing we did out of that worksheet a couple of weeks ago, remember? And we said that if you see a plan view of a roof, most, a building this simple wouldn't have a roof plan. Because if you know it's a gable roof from the elevation, and there's not much to know about it except the slope, which they give. But so if you have a roof, if it's called a roof plan, that means it's looking down from the sky at the roof, what you'd see if you're in an airplane or a whatchamacallit. So this means that, now you don't know for sure until you see the rest of the plan, but usually when you see this, this is going to be the ridge. It's going to be a gable roof. It's going to be a roof like that. Gable, G-A-B-L-E, right? So that line down the middle tips you. Now they believe it or not, they make this thing called a butterfly roof. And from the top, guess what? It looks just like this. There's a bar on called a Crocodile Bar. It's on State Street, Upper State Street. What's that street?
Alomar, I think.
Alomar, thank you. And when you drive into it, there's a little covered area where you can you can drop off people, and it's got a roof like that. It's the only one I know of in town. But every once in a while, you'll see in an architectural magazine, you'll see some architect. What's the problem with that kind of roof?
The trough leaks.
Yeah, it's a trough. It's going to collect water. So when they make a roof like that, they have to actually put these little boards on top where the water hits it and will go down. They're called I forget what they're called because I'm senile and losing all my construction terms, but I'll get in a second. But they're little pieces that shed water. So you have to do that. And if you looked at that one at the Crocodile Bar, if you got up on a ladder and looked on it, you'd see that they have that. And that keeps the water, that sheds the water.
A cricket?
Cricket, thank you. So they call those crickets. There's another name too. You don't need to know that. That's not going to be on a test and it's not important, but just for your own knowledge. So
wouldn't the crickets go the other way?
Would they?
When they go to a point at each
Yeah,
end?
they would. You're right. I'm wrong. You look like that. So the water coming down will go that way. Yeah, the other way would make the puddle even worse. You have a ton of water in the little center of the roof. Not a good design. Yeah. So the crickets go like that. In fact, one of our plans, the one that Armando did, that under one of your sets has a roof plan with a cricket like that. It's blackened in on the plan. So anyway, that was an aside. So what I want you to do, let's do it for homework. Well, let's do the one right now. So here's the thing. Okay, there's your paper, right? That's the border of your paper. This is the drawing, the roof plan. So when you're drafting, and you're doing a set of blueprints, if you just have a single page for this is kind of artificial, but just go with me. Single page for this one roof plan. What you have to do is you have to center it roughly on that page, right? So believe it or not, some of you have never centered something graphically on a page. Maybe all of you but one has, but the odds are with this size class that someone's never done that. They don't teach any of this crap in high school and elementary school anymore, which they should. You know, graphic basics. But so does anybody know a way to do that, to center it? You need, it can be done by measurement, right?
Right.
So how would you go about it?
How big of a border are you trying to make? Like,
Well, say you have your 8x11 sheet,
right?
and
From
say
one corner
it's going to
diagonal to
be,
the other corner?
it's going to be what I say, a 12 by 16.
What scale? Quarter-inch scale?
Yeah.
To-
Yeah. No, that's too small, isn't it?
yeah, that's really small.
Yeah, because then your 16 would be
Be 4 inches.
before.
Yeah.
4
half
inches.
inch would work.
Yeah, it'd be 3 inches by 4 inches for the roof.
Would a half be better?
I think so.
Yeah, do it a half. So do
Yeah.
2 squares per foot, right? You got 1/4 inch squares, so half would be 2 of those squares equal 1 foot. Can everybody see that? 1/2 inch equals 2 squares on your graph paper equals
Yes.
1 foot. So there's 2 ways to do this. One is to draw center lines going both ways. So if you take your 4x8 sheet and you draw, or your whatever your graph size is, it turned out, and you have it both ways. This is half and this is half. Then you can, the roof line will obviously be on that, the center line will obviously be on that line. And this will be half of that 6 feet this way and 6 feet this way, 8 feet this way and 8 feet this way, right?
Yep.
That's probably the simplest way to do it. I never did it that way growing up, but somebody in one of my classes said, oh, that's a good way to do it. I would take this total distance here, say it's 8 inches on an 8x11 sheet, and I would subtract this distance from it and then divide it in half. And that would give me that much. So you can do it either way. You know, this particular roof lends itself to dividing the paper in half both ways. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and put a 12 by 16 roof on a 8 by, a 1/2 inch equal to a foot scale.
With no
So
overhang.
it's so it'd be 6 inches across and 8 inches high, right? That should fit on there, okay.
Yep. That'll fit.
And you want it right on the center?
Yeah. So rarely, this is the aesthetics of plans, and rarely is a plan this simple or this singular going on a page. So when we look at pages, and you can look at these on your own or next time we run through the prints, notice how architects center stuff and place it on the page. A lot of times there's more than one face of a house, like they may have two elevations on a page. So notice how they do that. They'll be centered and spaced if they have two. You know, they need to conserve space, so they cram things together, but notice how they do it. Because if you ever do this, if you ever do your own plans for a project at home or whatever, you know, you've got to face that. Now so do that now. And then for your homework, I'll explain when you're ready. Are you all ready to do to have me tell you what the homework is?
Just one moment.
Okay. I got all the time in the world. This is the last thing we're going to do, and then we're going to go home. So.
You want us to do this right now?
Yeah, well, you can do this right now or
Okay.
not. Would you rather do it right now to make sure you're okay?
I'm gonna grab some more graph paper, but
If most people are done, I'll wait till Hugo's done. He'll be my benchmark. Or I could take Michael Silva. Or I could take the mysterious Brandon Paz.
So, so this roof has no overhangs?
Yes, that's with, it will have overhang. So one thing I want you to do on this plan is put a dotted line where the walls go, the outside of the wall.
The outside of the wall is 2 feet in.
So put it 2 feet in. So let's see who's here. Donna. Maybe she was afraid I'd ask her questions. I was going to grill her, you know? This is the one time we had to grill an inspector because they grill us the rest of the time. God, so she chickened out. You know, she probably knew I was going to do that. So let's see. So 2 feet would be a half an inch or 2 squares. Is that right?
I thought we're doing ½ inch equals 1 foot.
Oh, we are. So it would be an inch, an inch in from the border. 2 feet or 1 inch, right? So the dotted line is, you could say four of the little squares, right? Is that right, John?
Yes.
Four of the little squares in from the roof line. Everybody got that? That much we have to get straight before we move on.
Say that one more time.
We need to make sure we're okay with this before we move on, because this is important. God, if I could draw, it'd be dangerous, you know? So don't draw that on this plan. I'm just showing you something here. So is everybody looking?
No.
So I'm gonna have you do a elevation of both sides. That's what you're gonna do for homework. So we've done that already, but we're gonna draw this to scale. So it's a little bit more involved. So a gable roof has a triangle when you look at the end of it. If you look this way, the roof would look like a triangle, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes the triangle doesn't have that bottom line because the stucco may go all the way up into the triangle. Sometimes it does, it'll have woodwork and it'll have that line. It varies. But for this, I want to draw the line. So when you're looking down at the roof, you're seeing the very end of the roof, right? And so the house comes in from the roof. It's got an overhang. That's what this is. This is a set. This isn't part of the drawing. I'm just drawing up here. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this overhang is the same as this here. So when you draw the elevation, which you're going to do at home, looking at this way, you'll see this right here. You'll see the roof and then you'll see the house 2 feet in. It's a 2-foot overhang. So you need to know the slope in order to draw that. You need to know the angle of the roof, and you need to know the height of the building, the height of the walls. So let's say this is 8 feet. That's a typical wall. Yeah.
Yep.
It's 8 feet. Can Hugo, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So you need to know that to draw your elevation. You need to know the height of the building. Now the slope of the roof, let's do a 312. Wow, I've got a light reflecting right on that, huh? How interesting is that? Not very interesting, huh? I've got these can lights that are burning down. So your elevation is going to look like this, and it's going to be 8 feet. The wall's 8 feet. Now, let's figure out how we're going to draw the angle of the roof given the slope I want it to be. I want it to be a 312 roof. So that, 312 roof. So that means for every 12 inches or feet or centimeters you go sideways, you're going to go 3 up, right? So the slope says for every 12 we go this way, we go 3 up, right?
Yeah.
But on our drawing, that isn't 12 feet. This whole thing is 12 feet. So what do you suppose half of the roof would be?
6 feet.
6 feet. So we're talking 6 feet. So that's half of that 12. So what do you think the height's going to be?
1.5.
Yeah, half of the 3. So the height of that roof will be 1.5 feet from the top of the wall.
Yep.
So if you're looking at the roof plan, it's not going to tell you the slope. So you're not going to know how steep to make that pitch. someone's got to tell you. So I'm telling you it's 312. And I'm telling you the walls are 8 foot high. That's all you need to know to draw the hole. And the overhang's 2 feet. So that should be enough information to draw the whole building, the two side views, the front view and the side view rather.
Like a north view and a east or west view.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can do.
Or basically.
You can do if you want to label it with a direction, a compass direction, or you can just put front view. Let's make this the front.
Okay.
Actually, in this kind of house, that's usually the side view. Because the door's on that long side usually, but I more want you to just to get to play with the numbers and shapes.
Wait,
So-
Patrick,
Yes.
how would, is that number say 3.5 feet tall the roof is?
No, I crossed out the 3 and put 1.5.
Oh, okay.
So let me clarify one thing here. I'm writing the actual feet of the roof. You've got to translate that into your scale. So I'm saying the overhang's 2 feet in real life. So that's going to be, if a ½ inch equals a foot,
An inch.
that's going to be an inch, 2 ½ inches. If the half the roof, this part is 6 feet, it's going to be what, 3 inches?
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be 3 inches on your paper, but it'll represent 6 feet. And these are feet. These are the actual dimensions. Not the inches or the squares on your paper. Got that?
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Hugo, what do you think? You think you got enough information?
One and one half, and then the three. I'm a little bit off on the
All
the dimensions that you were describing.
Okay,
So
all
we're
the
going in
numbers on
horizontal direction. I know that that's 12, but then what was the rise if we go from the center to the peak of the roof? How much
that's
was
1.5.
that?
That's 1.5 feet. This is from here to here.
Okay. All righty. So then, and then when you were speaking,
And
of the
those all on the blue.
rise, you
On the
changed
blue.
it to 1 1/2 because.
Well, okay, but let me repeat one more thing and then I'll tell you. All the blue numbers are the actual numbers. They're in feet. That's what the actual house would look like in feet. They would all be different when you're drawing. They'd be, you wouldn't draw 6 foot and 1.5 feet, right? Because you're doing ½ inch to a foot. You've got a scale. Okay. He's got.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, good. That's the main point. Everything else we can get from there. So the way I found those numbers, that's what he wants to know, is the slope is written like this on all plans. And the top number is always 12. And this can be 1 or 2 or 3 or 12. It can be a variable. That it starts at 1, 12 is like this, 2, 12, 3, 12, 4, 12, 5, 12, 6, 12. 12, 12 is like a 45 degree. This is a 12, 12 roof. That's real steep. We don't have those here. It's like snow country. So we have like 3, 4, 5, 12 roofs predominantly in Santa Barbara. So I made it a 3, 12 because I knew you could get you could figure it out. You know, I made it easy. So if the roof's 12 foot across, that means half of this is 6 foot. This is 6 foot. And so 6 is twice, 6 is half of 12. So the vertical must be half of 3. It's like a proportion.
So how many total drawings are we gonna have for homework? That's nah, okay. I'm a little all over the place.
Okay, I just want to, this one point I want to get. So it's a 312 slope, but you can divide both numbers by 2 or multiply by 2 as long as they're the same ratio. So if you divide 12 by 2 and get 6, then you have to divide 3 by 2 to get 1.5.
Sure.
Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hugo?
Yes, it certainly is. Uh-huh.
Okay. So Hugo, you're good with that? Okay.
I tell you, double thumbs up, real good. Thank
So
you.
when we take roof framing, like this summer, for instance, or we do the math class, which will probably be in, I can't remember, fall or spring, we go over this stuff in detail. So it's kind of a quick showing tonight. But I think you can all get just the basic thing.
So you want one centered, I guess it would be a site plan, like overview, and then you want one elevation.
No, I want 2 elevations. One from, that'll look like this.
Uh-huh.
One that'll be from the side.
Oh, okay.
It'll look like this.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. No windows or anything, right? Just
Yeah, it'll look
Okay.
like this. Pretty boring.
okay. I got you.
Yeah. So
Wait,
just,
so for the
yeah,
so for the side view,
yes,
um,
it's gonna have 8
yeah,
foot walls.
what's the measurement from the bottom corner from the left to the right?
So this will be 16 feet, I think we said, right? Oh, no. The roof is 16, right? Remember?
Yeah.
So this is 2 feet in. So 2 feet and 2 feet is 4 feet. So that means that'll be 12,
Okay.
right? 12 and 2 and 2, like 16.
Okay.
Okay. So you just want a front and the side. We don't need to
Yeah,
draw.
and you can put them on one sheet if you can fit them.
Okay.
You can
Got it.
change the scale. You can do it on 2 sheets. If you do
Got
them on one sheet and they'll fit, then you'll have to figure out what looks best. Obviously, if they're usually they line these things up so that it's like you're just, turning the view. That's why then on a page they're lined up a lot. But you're free to do anything you want. Just play with it,
Cool.
Yeah, so
Does it have,
you don't need to master this tonight. I think most of you got most of it. And we'll just follow, you see how your drawing goes and we'll just follow through with it and maybe do another one. That's all. I think it helps when you do your own drawing to understand how graphics work, why they put things in places, how they translate from one view to another view.
I agree.
We said that before.
Helps with visualization, like it helps me. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good for everybody. That visualization is a real important part of blueprint reading and carpentry in general and masonry also.
big time. I
Yeah.
don't know what you're building.
Okay.
does it have to be drawn by hand?
Pardon?
Does it have to be drawn by hand?
No, if you have a T-square and a drafting board setup, you can do that. You can do graph paper, and use the graph lines to help you. But I want it to scale and straight lines, not like a freehand sketch. We did a freehand sketch last time, remember? I just asked you to kind of show the elevations. Now I want you to do one that's more to scale and with straight lines.
Okay.
Okay, let's take a quick roll and then we'll get out of here. I can find a pencil. Okay, I'm just gonna call your names. It's too hard. Jesus Barreto,
Yeah, I'm here.
Alec, well, it was here. Hamar was here. Colby was here. Hugo, Eric, Dylan. Which Nolasco was here?
Kevin.
Kevin?
Yeah.
And Duke was here. Brandon.
Yep.
D'Angelo, John, Michael Silva. Michael was here and Jose. Yeah.
Yeah.
And John Tapia, were you here? John might not have been here tonight. Johnny Vasquez was here. Johnny, were you here last week?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, okay. And then Jacob and yeah, I have the wrong sheet, but I've got all your names anyway. That was Kevin Nolasco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Edward may have dropped. I said that last week.
Yeah.
D'Angelo, John. Dylan was here. Eric, Hugo, Colby, Marcos, Hamar. Donna was absent. One time she decided to be absent. Alec. Miguel Barbosa, you're here, right? Yeah. And Michael, Jose, Vasquez. So Johnny Vasquez.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Were you've been absent a bit, right?
Yeah, I have.
Did you have a problem?
No, I just been trying to catch up with my math classes and
Okay.
my chemistry class. That's why.
Okay. I got confused. At one point I thought I wasn't sure if you dropped or not, but I kept you. So that's
No.
fine.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, any name I didn't call? Well, Jennifer and Katie I didn't call. All right. So next week, try to be here because it's the prep for the midterm. We sort of go over everything, reinforce it one more time, but you'll know exactly what the questions will be about and you want to guess. That's good, huh?
I like it.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I will see you next week. Have a good week, you guys.
Thanks, Patrick.
Likewise.
All right.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Patrick.
All right, adios.